Back in the podcast, happy to be joined by Christian McCaffrey, Carolina Panthers running back, obviously. And Christian, I know you're here representing Ascent Protein, and that's one of the reasons why I was going to ask you a little bit about one thing with Tom Brady and his long life in football. And he told me a couple of years ago when he was 26 years old and he would wake up in the morning after a football game, and even 2 or 3 days after, he'd feel so lousy. And it wasn't all diet, but it was some diet. And some of it was, how he was taking care of himself already at that point. And he basically felt like, I'm going to last as long as I can in this thing, but am I going to be sore every day like this? I don't want to be sore every day. So tell me a little bit about, I know you are maniacal about your body the way Brady is. And tell me about your lessons that you've learned from things like protein, diet, pliability, workouts, and all that.
Yeah, I think when you when you talk about high caliber athletes, it's one thing to talk about, their physicality, speed, strength, and all that. But as you get older and older, and as you experience more football, recovery, I think, ends up becoming the most important factor. I think Tom's a great example of that. But that's it's also a reason why I trust in a protein like Ascent, and I think it's a company that I've been using for 2 years, and I've just found results. When I work out hard, and I take their protein, I feel good the next day. I don't feel like that a whole lot. And obviously, you're going to get bumps and bruises here and there when it comes to football. But to your point, waking up and feeling like the things that you're putting in your body are it's positive fuel. That matters as well, so just knowing that there's no artificial flavors, no artificial sugars, and, all of its real ingredients, just gives me confidence that I'm fueling my body with the right stuff.
I once asked Brady, this is like 3 years ago, I said, don't you want to go out sometime and have like 9 beers with your buddies? And he said, Peter, I've done that before, and it's fun, but this is a lot more fun. So, yeah. I mean, until I can't do this anymore, I may do that again one day. And he probably will, but he found his thing in life that he absolutely loves. And so he's going to be absolutely 100 miles an hour toward it every day. How about you? Do you ever lapse? Do you ever go out and have a Shake Shack chicken sandwich, or something like that? What do you do if you really feel like eating junk food?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think everyone does here and there. And I think, obviously, you mentioned what Tom said. Tom was probably referring to when he was my age, 24. So hopefully I can start saying, oh, I've done that, because, I've definitely relapse, so to say. And, I've had my fair share. I mean, I'm a sucker for Doritos, and I just love, sometimes every once in a while, giving myself a day where I can, eat whatever I want, or, have a drink here and there, whatever. But I think the biggest thing too, is it's a reminder of how good you feel when you don't do that stuff. And so for me, the more hits you take and the more you go through this league, it's so important to take every step of the way and take care of yourself, because, like you said, as fun as that stuff is, you have the rest of your life to do it. And winning is much more fun, for sure. So, I definitely resonate with that. And it's something that, as my career continues, and having football taken away from me this year, and kind of catching an injury bug, that's it kind of, refueled my love, so to say. Not that I ever lost any, but I think sometimes you have to have something taken away from you to realize how much you love it. So, I'm kind of already getting the bug to go back and play. I'm kind of really excited, for next year already.
So for those who know you were hurt a little bit this year, let's just run over a couple of things. In your first 3 years in the NFL, you never missed a game. You played 48 games. And then this year, 2020, you only played 3 games. You had 3 distinct injuries. And I wonder, when you look back on it now, was it in any way a heavy workload from the first 3 years where you averaged 312 touches a season? Was it in any way that, or do you believe that it was just bad luck?
I don't like to think that any past years are the reason for anything. And I think when you look around different players in the league who have experienced injuries, some of them will have season-ending injuries in the first game and play 15 more years. So some of the, that noise, and then, well, it's because they're giving them too many carries. I look at a guy like Emmitt Smith who played, double-digit years in his 10th year and all that. He was an animal. And he had a lot of carries, and, he's experienced injuries. And, Adrian Peterson, tore his knee all the way and then was the MVP of the league the next year. And, Aaron Rodgers broke his collarbone, and everyone's forgotten about that. So that's kind of something that for me is encouraging to see, not just running backs, but quarterbacks, receivers who have gotten hurt and come back and had, career years for the next, 6, 7, 8 years. So for me, that's something that I'm fueled by. And whether or not it had anything to do with the previous 3 years, I say, part of it is bad luck. Injuries happen in football. My ankle injury was kind of a freak injury. I didn't even have my foot in the ground. My shoulder, I fell on it just right to separate it. And so it's part of that's the game. And I've played through injuries before. It's not like this is the first time I've been hurt. It's just the first time that I've been hurt to the point where I, physically can't play. And I think that's the frustrating part of this last year was, your mind is in one place and you know what you can do, but your body wasn't responding to that, due to the injury. So, it's something that I've learned from though. And looking into this off season, I think I have an amazing plan. I trust my plan, and, I'm excited for this next year.
What is your plan?
Well, I mean, it's long. I'd bore you if I was, talking about it for like 30
Give me the Cliff's Notes version of your plan.
Cliff Notes. So I treat it like a few camps a year. When I go into training, like a fighting camp. Those guys for about 10 weeks, they lock in. Their whole life is training, and it's fueling your body with the right stuff. Obviously, that's why I think Ascent matters so much to me. But it's the correct fuel, the correct nutrition, the correct sleep, the correct hydration. There's no distractions. There's no vacations. You kind of get that out of the way, and then you lock in. I'll go 4 weeks on, 1 week off, 4 weeks on, 1 week off. That'll get me to OTAs, which is April 19th. And hopefully we have it in person this year. And then after that, I'll have another, 3.5, 4 week of a training camp, so to say, before camp. And, some of those weeks are off days. You're not going the whole time. I think that's one thing I've learned is the balance between training and taking care of your body. And a lot of guys in the NFL, it's not a matter of whether they're working hard enough. It might be they're not working smart enough. And I think sometimes working smarter is much harder than, the so-called working hard, because you have to find every way possible to maximize your body and really turn it into a machine. And that's the fun part for me, is trying to figure out the master plan into, creating a monster, so to say.
Do you think you will be more ready opening day this year than you have been in any of your previous years?
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% believe that.
First impressions of Matt Rule.
Oh, I love Matt Rule. I think when you think about a head coach, one of the biggest traits you hear is leadership, and I think he has that to a T. And for me, being able to observe from outside in and seeing his way of coaching and to see the results, it was exciting, because you saw young guys who started out here and ended up here, and you saw veterans who truly bought into what he was saying, and it paid off. And obviously our record wasn't what it was, but I think that the first step in creating a successful program is getting guys to understand the standard. And, from day one, he never changed. And that's something that as a player, you get excited about, because, obviously you look at his resume and what he's done everywhere else too. And I know he would probably say none of that stuff matters, now matters, but it's true. It holds truth. He's transformed programs. And I think partly it's, and I think he'd say the same thing. I don't think it is his football knowledge, because he's got plenty of that, but it's his ability to take guys and from A to B and make them their best self on the football field.
Do you have your season tickets for Northern Colorado's football team?
Absolutely. I'm tapped in. I'll tell you what, I've never been so excited for college football. So my dad's head coach there, my older brother, who was really my idol growing up. He's the receivers coach there. And, he's a guy who, my older brother, Max, played, 4.5 years in the NFL. And, for a lot of different teams, bounced around. But I get all my advice from receiver position from him and my dad. So, they're out there coaching, and my little brother Dylan just committed. So he'll be the quarterback. And, for me as a brother, that's like all you can ask for is, watching all of your family in one place. I'm so used to rooting for this team, this team, this team, this team, and, having all of them in one spot. I think the coolest thing in my life was watching my dad coach my littlest brother, Luke, in the state championship his senior year. And they went undefeated and won the state championship. And then, it was just kind of emotional, because it's, it's your family and you want to see them all do well. And when they're on the same team, it's, and there's a lot of emotion that goes into it. I can promise you it's not going to be, all sunshine and rainbows in that huddle, but I think that's the beauty of it. I'm really excited.
You got to hope your bye week kind of falls on a Northern Colorado home game, so you get up to Greeley and you watch your brother play quarterback and your dad and your brother coach, and it'd be kind of a cool weekend for you.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I'm gonna try to get up there as much as possible. So I definitely can't wait. I'm going to go back to Colorado over a couple weeks and train, and maybe try to train there if they let me. We'll see what my dad does.
I think your father is going to be a good coach, and I remember him well from when he was a player. He was very serious, but nobody played harder than he did. Nobody. He got every ounce out of what he had. And I would assume that's the way he's going to coach his team.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I think you just described him very well. He puts everything into what he does. And that's, part of the reason why, being his son, and I speak for all my brothers, was so easy, because, you look at his commitment to anything he does, and it's, it's unmatched. And I think it's the same with my mom. And, that's something to look up to as a kid. And I think you're right. I look back and watch highlights of him playing, and there wasn't a play he took off. And favorite thing to do is watch him block, because, a lot of receivers can catch and run good routes and do stuff with the ball in their hands, but watching him block and just put people down was something that as a running back I like, but also just to show that how much pride he took in every single play. So
when I watch you play, I'm not saying I see him. He's a tall, long guy, and obviously you guys play different positions, but your will is the same, as your dad. It really is. And he was, he just would not be denied, reminds me of all these guys who say, they're going to have to kick me out of the game one day. That's the way your father was. And so the way you play and the way you prepare does not surprise me at all. But anyway, Christian, really appreciate you taking the time and being on the podcast. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Peter. I appreciate it, man.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.